What's up? It's your boy Luke P. Sanders, and I'm back with another episode of Family Talk Volume 3. Last week was the premiere, so we are full-fledged into Volume 3. But this week I'm talking about my mini entertainment fails because a lot of people only see what what actually comes out, what happens, but I think the thing that's so disappointing about my entertainment fails is because these are not like things that I've done as far as like my shows. It's like things like it's things that would have put me on a whole nother level in my entertainment career. So some people be like, oh yeah, Luke King doing this, or at least that's how I feel. I don't even know. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just get in your head about stuff. But I just feel like I could have been further. I would have liked to be further, especially being 24 and this is my 7th year in entertainment. If all these things would have went through, I would have been on a whole nother level, in entertainment. But I just look at it now, I'm just like, it just wasn't my time. To be honest with you, it just wasn't my time. That doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It just wasn't my time when all these things happened. But, so yes, I think I even talked about this on social media at the time. I was doing a film, this is even last decade, towards the end of last decade. So, supposed to be doing a film. That was going to be my first film, actually. I was supposed to be a producer of that film, but for whatever reason, the person kind of started acting, I don't know if I want to say, it was definitely weird, but I kind of want to use a more specific word. They just started acting like they didn't want to work with me anymore for whatever reason. And they kind of just stopped responding, and, it just didn't work. So that was disappointing because that year was like, there was actually a lot going on. I had worked at my first radio station, and then my second radio station, and my first podcast had premiered, and then my third season on my show was being filmed. So it was a lot going on. So I was excited because I was like, oh, okay, I can add this to everything else that I'm doing. I was writing music, the whole nine. I was on red carpets and going to events and doing radio and stuff like that. And even the second season of my show had came out that year. So I was like, man, this is a really good year. But when that happened, I was like, dang. But years later, I did get to produce my first film. It wasn't that one. Last year, I produced my first film. So yeah. That was exciting, but oh god! So this next, we still talking about entertainment films, but this next thing I'm about to say, I have to be careful because it is on social media, and I'm not a believer of outing people. I'm a believer of sharing my experience and my perspective of things, but for one, I don't want to get sued for defamation, and two, I don't want to talk and share names because I don't think people realize, like, when they do that, they feel like, oh, yeah, I'm justified because they did this. Yeah, you might be justified. You might be even right. But to me, it makes other professionals look like, oh, okay, well, if I don't do what they want me to do, or if I have a misstep, they're going to out me, and then that's going to make my business look bad, make me look bad, and that's going to take opportunities away from me. So I think about the whole thing. So, no, I don't share names. And if I do share a name, it's not a full name, and it's not somebody you would know who I'm talking about. You know what I mean? So, but yeah, I said all that to say, I was working on, because I had pictures with this person on social media, so I'm still trying to, carefully tiptoe a little bit. I'm going to give you the real, though. I'm going to give you the tea. But, yeah, so I went to one of their events. We had talked, and they was like, oh, okay, yeah. We was chit-chatting, and they were like, yeah, what are you doing? And they were telling me what they were doing. I was like, okay, cool. It was a real calm, cool conversation, real genuine and down to earth. So I was like, okay, yeah, this person's really cool because they were telling me stuff that they hadn't told. Maybe they had told. I don't know. What they told me, it did seem like something they wouldn't tell people, and it was very like huge. It was very huge. What they were telling me, what they were about to do. So they were like, yeah. And then later, after that event, I think like a few months later, they were asking me, pretty much, they wanted me to take some time off my calendar so I can work on one of their projects. And this is the first time that this had ever happened. So I was like, wow, this is cool. This is about to take my career to the next level. Working with this person because of their caliber and what they're about to do. So I was really excited. So then and mind you, me taking, as of right now, me taking time off my calendar to do something, it did make things a bit harder because I wouldn't have time to film or record, my podcast and my web series, but it wasn't like I was going out of town or anything, so it wasn't that hard of a task, for them to ask me that. But I still admired the fact that they respected me enough to ask me to take time off. Because people, Usually they just be like, oh yeah, let's do something. And they don't, they don't really respect my time in the matter of like telling me far in advance, because this was late last year and they were asking me to take the time off for this summer. So I was like, okay, wow. That's really cool. That's really dope and respectful of them. So fast forward this year, top of this year. Well, it's a little fuzzy. I think last year I was even starting to get stuff together. So they actually work on a project with them. I definitely learned that you had to have a talent agreement for that project they were asking me to do. But how I learned that is because I was talking to different people. I was talking to different productions and producers and even marketing agencies. Because I'm like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do this right. For this project, we're going to make sure it's marketed right. So I was talking to publicists, the whole nine. They were excited to work with him and to work with me. Talking to producers, you know what I mean? But some of them, it didn't make sense to do it. Just business-wise, it didn't make sense what they were offering and what they wanted to do. Or what they, just from a business standpoint, it didn't make sense. So we finally found a company and couple producers that it made sense. They had a great resume, super cool, super down to earth, made sense. I had talked to them first, and then I told the person who offered me that job. I told him what they had offered, and he wanted to do it a certain way. So then I set up the meeting with him and then that company, the two producers with that company, and we on the Zoom call. And I'm not gonna share too much because that was private, but he wasn't saying what he told me, so it made me look stupid because I'm telling them like, oh yeah, he doesn't want to do this, but then we're on the Zoom call and he's like, well, no, if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. So I'll do it the way that you guys are asking us to do. So I was like, you didn't make me look, you know what I mean? I'm going on your behalf and making sure that this project is the way you want it. But then in the Zoom call, you like, well, no, we can do it your way. So I'm just like, okay. So then I knew that wasn't true because he had told me something different. So let me get off the Zoom call. I don't know how many days or what the time was, but then he tells me like, oh yeah, I don't want to do that because that's not where I'm at business-wise. I don't want to, numbers wasn't right. Numbers wasn't what he wanted them to be. So he wanted a certain amount that he wanted to do. He wanted a certain amount that he wanted to pay. And I told them that, and I don't remember exactly, but the project never happened, for one. And then the producers, they just kind of stopped with communication. And I had even reached out to them after that, and I wanted to work with them on projects without him. And they kind of pretty much brushed me off. And I was just like, man, he ruined the whole relationship with them because he didn't stick to what he wanted to do. You know what I mean? I think he just, in the Zoom call, he probably just got caught up in excitement and how they were explaining it. But then when he thought about it, he thought about his pockets. He was like, oh, yeah, I don't want, you know what I mean? So, yeah, it was definitely disappointing because I feel like I lost out on both ends. You know what I mean? Because I don't get to work on this project. That's another coin that was lost. And then I don't get to work with this company. And this is a company that I could have done, because I have a lot of show ideas. So I could have worked with them for like countless shows. Like, I'm talking about millions of dollars that I could have made with this company, working with them. So I would lose out on my coin on both sides. You know what I mean? So I was very upset and very mad. And even when the production company they kind of gave me the brush off, I was still going to work with him. And he was like, well, yeah, when I get in town, I'm going to hit you up so we can have a meeting. Because I was trying to set up a meeting. For me, I like to just have meetings set up. You know what I mean? I don't really like to okay, but he didn't know his schedule when he was going to get in town. So he's like, yeah, I'll hit you up when I get in town. Then I see on social media, he's been in town for days and ain't hit me up. So I was like, you know what? I'm not about to cry over this or have her. It's business. You know what I mean? So now I know to have a talent agreement. And yeah. But the talent agreement really just would have let me, yeah. I don't even think the talent agreement would have stopped this from happening. To be honest with you, I think what happened was, and I don't think it's fair, but I do understand. The production company was like, well, if he's bringing him, it could have been two things. If he's bringing him along to work with us and this person's fuzzy on what they want to do and they change in what they want to do multiple times, then what is Luke going to do? You know what I mean? And then also they could have just been mad because they felt like they knew what this person could have brought for their production company because of their caliber and what they're about to do and what they were doing. So they probably were mad that they lost out on that because they knew that that was a good coin. So they were probably like, well, I don't know with Luke, you know what I mean? I don't know what he can bring to the table because honestly, I haven't done anything in TV and film. At that point, I hadn't yet. My film hadn't came out yet. So even with the film coming out, you still got to do multiple things for you to prove yourself. But yeah, that was very disappointing because I was very excited about those opportunities. But moving right along, yeah, I was talking about last week's episode, the premiere. I was talking about Tyler Perry Studios' invitation. So I told you I was going to talk to you guys about. I talked to you about the Tyler Perry connection. So not the invitation because it was two separate instances. So that was 2019, the Tyler Perry Studios invitation, and you know why I couldn't go. I told you about that in last week's episode. So this connection actually came about in 2021, which is really funny because I was actually working on another show and I had posted about it in this this private page where producers are, and he reached out to me and we exchanged, I ended up emailing him and he gave me his number and we talked about it. He was like, well, yeah, I actually have somebody who works with Tyler Perry, and I looked them up and their IMDb shows that they worked on stuff Tyler Perry has done, major stuff. So I was like, okay, yeah, that checks out. So fast forward many, many months later, it just didn't work out for whatever reason. And yeah, so I didn't get that show off the ground. That show is still a game changer, you know what I mean? And I remember somebody, I don't know if this is before or after I had talked to him, but I remember somebody telling me that, people are not going to sign NDAs to discuss your show. I was like, okay, if they don't want to sign NDAs, then they don't need to talk to me. Because for me, because I knew what, this is a game-changing show. This had never been done before in history of what I was doing. So I was like, yeah, this is a gem. So I'm not about to share this with everybody. I even made the guy who had the Tyler Perry connection sign an NDA. He was cool with it. So I just felt like this guy was trying to get over on me. He signed that NDA, but he got upset. He was like, well, yeah, people are not going to sign NDAs. People sign NDAs all the time. Even Lonnie Love said that Netflix makes you sign an NDA before you even go through the door. So, yes, people do make you sign NDAs, especially when you're talking about stuff, that are a big deal and that are private and stuff like that. So, yeah, this had never been done. It still hasn't been done, thank God. I'm praying that it doesn't happen because, yeah. But, yeah, I pitched the show to other people. I even talked to the whole cast. Okay, I even emailed the whole cast, but they didn't. I don't know if my emails were, I don't know how stars send emails. I don't know how celebrities get and send emails. I don't know if they're supposed to have a certain logo or a certain this or certain that. It was professional. I made sure I made sense. I was professional, but it could have went to spam. It could not have looked the way they wanted to, or their management team was like, yeah, this ain't, you know what I mean? So I don't know what happened with that, but I did reach out to the cast. And I know the trouble with doing shows that have never been done before is like, is there an audience for it? Will the audience receive it well? And for me, I'm just like, well, not for me, but with this show, it had very well-known cast members. So I'm like, okay, yeah, even though they don't know what it's going to do and it hasn't been done before, it's a whole new lane of this type of show. They would know the people, you know what I mean? They would know the cast members. So I was like, they will watch it for that instance. But yeah, yeah. So yeah, definitely disappointed about that. But I still say never. It's still going to happen. Nobody has that much power to where they, you know what I mean? Like, it's not going to happen. Like, oh, you can't do the show. Like, you can't. No, like, I can still do it with somebody else. And the funny thing is, I got excited just a little bit, but I was like, yeah, I'm not going to get all the way excited. Because I had somebody reach out to me, and it was like, yeah, I can help you. Because I did a post on this, like, page. And it was like, yeah, I can help you. But I knew the way they had reached out to me wasn't right. I had never been reached out this way. It was from an email, but then the email had their number on it, and then the type of it showed the cell phone company, and I was like, okay, yeah. I'm not someone who's judgmental, but I'm like, if you can't afford a name brand phone company at this point, I'm like, okay, yeah, you might be a little money hungry. And then I found out, I was like, this name looks familiar. So then I went to my messages. I was like, this is the same person who was trying to charge me all this money to work on a project. Like, And for me, I do things differently. I don't know if this is a new norm because of COVID, but I film differently. I told somebody once, I was like, I film like Tyler Perry. In the sense of like Tyler Perry shoots very fast. He does 2 or 3 takes max, and he's on to the next scene. So I only film like a couple hours. You know what I mean? I don't, unless we have a big budget and this is a show with a network or a streaming service, I'm not shooting all day. You know what I mean? So I just shoot a scene for an hour or so and I move on. So that's what I was pitching to him. But he had gave me this call sheet or what was it called? Not a call sheet. This proposal, pretty much showing a 10, 12-hour day, and he needed all these crew members. I only had to ask for 3 because you don't need the necessary crew members. And from one, we weren't even shooting a full show. We were shooting a sizzle reel, and he wanted to do craft services. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is not what we talked about. So I just feel like you trying to get over and trying to do a whole thing. You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's not what I was telling you about. I was telling you this is small budget, this is this, da 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 da. And you came up with a whole thing, and this is like 5 figures that you want me to pay for one day. And I told you there's no network, there's no backing behind this right now. This is just to get us as a reel to take to the networks and to take to the streaming services to see if they want in the show. Pretty much just to pitch the show. So like, yeah, there's too many red flags with him. And then, but I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to see. I'm going to still try to see. But then I asked him, I was like, okay, so what day and time do you want? And he just said the time. That's it. He didn't say, oh, yeah, this time works great or this day. He literally said the time. So I was like, so we're not even doing full sentences. We just, what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I'm cool on you on that, So, and then moving along to my final point. So, and this is another thing that makes things disappointing because I had talked to multiple agencies. I don't think a lot of people know, and I actually forgot this. I remember me and my whole immediate family, so my parents and my older brother. I was a teenager, so I wasn't grown yet. I wasn't an adult yet. And we went to this like acting agency, and it was like an acting school, like an acting like boot camp kind of. So it wasn't like a school. It wasn't like a full-on school. It wasn't like college or like a 5-day week school or anything like that. It was just like a thing where they train you on how to act and how to be pretty much an entertainer. So they made me audition for this commercial, and for whatever reason, they wasn't buying it. They kept telling me I'm not doing it right, so I didn't make it into that school. So that was one agency or one school. I don't know what you call that, agency or school. I don't know. So then fast forward 2020, like right before the pandemic, February. I went to an agency. And it was like a group thing, so it wasn't just me meeting with them. They talked to a group of people, but then you did audition or read a script individually, and they put it on tape. So then they called me back. They was like, okay, cool, you got accepted to the agency. I was like, okay, cool. But then during the conversation, I was like, yeah, I just want to make sure everything's good. I can review my contract. And they're like, okay. And then either they called me back or messaged me back. They was like, yeah, there's no need for you to come into to come sign your paperwork because we don't want you anymore, basically. So I was like, okay, so I can't, me saying that I want to look at my paperwork is a problem. You know what I mean? Like, so that just sounded sketchy. So then fast forward, I think a year or two later, I think the same agency, they had reached out to me, and they had been reaching out to me. And I finally, I was like, okay, cool. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be, because at first I was like, yeah, y'all did me dirty. I don't want to talk to y'all the first couple times they reached out. But I was like, okay, let me just see. They could have a different staff. So then we do this group Zoom call. And then they asked me, the next day, can I send in pictures and, the stuff they needed, whatever. Did that. Somehow we end up emailing back and forth, like, about something. And I was like, well, I've done this and I've done that and I've done that. And they wanted me to do background work. I'm like, why would I do background work when I've started all my shows? And that's not even on no egotistical stuff. That's just, it just didn't make sense. Like, I've done radio. I've done podcasts that I've hosted. And I've started all my shows. And at this point, I had 3 shows. So I'm just like, okay. And yes, I know that they are not shows that the world knows me by. But I'm just like, still, like, why would I do background work when I'm used to being in the front as far as, like, being seen, people know who I am. on some level. So I'm like, doing background work. This doesn't really. And for one, the bag ain't hitting. You know what I mean? I'm not about to do no extra work right now. You know what I mean? Like, that's just not what I was on at that point. So I was just like, no, I'm good. You know what I mean? So I passed on that. And then I think I reached out to another agency, and they were just like, oh man, I reached out to 2 more. I forgot about that. I reached out to this one agency, and their agency I just filled out a form, and they were like, yeah, we don't even care. Like, we're very open minded, and we don't care about body size and da 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 da. So they were very open, but nothing came about it. And I think what was disappointing about it is I had a friend that I actually was inquired with in high school. I don't know if we're friends or associates. We cool though, so there's no shade to him. But he's a part of the agency, and we even talked about it before. And I was just like, man, like he's on it in it, and I was like, okay. And then this one girl, she had moved to LA because of how many opportunities she was getting from the agency. So I was just like, man, they can get in there, but they said they inclusive, so I'm not ugly. The only thing they could say is like, oh, he's thick. That's the only thing I really could say because my resume was on my social media, and especially Facebook, because they let you post the links or multiple links and stuff like that, or at least at the time. You can see all my work basically. So I was like, well, dang, they, I don't know what the problem was, but I was disappointed about that. And then another agency I had reached out to, dang, no, it was 2 more after that. Okay, then next agency, I keep forgetting, I can't remember it now. And then this next agency I was talking to, they actually sent me, they was like, okay, yeah, just put yourself on tape, reading this and doing this. And I thought I did horrible. And they actually, they reached back out. They was like, no, we want to talk to you more. So then I talked to them, but it was weird. It was over Zoom. It was just weird. He was like, so I forgot what he said. I didn't know what he meant. Evidently, I didn't give him what he wanted. So nothing came over that. And then another agency, that was just email. And this agency said, give us up to 6 weeks and we'll contact you. Well, it's been 8 to 9 weeks and they ain't reached back out. So I think it's fair to say that didn't work out. But I'm like 6 weeks. I'm like, y'all that busy? Like, Lord, if y'all are successful, hire a bigger staff. But yeah, so I'm just like, man, I don't know if that means I'm not supposed to be with an agency or I'm supposed to, be in the limelight and then an agency comes. Because then when you have done something and they come to you, I think you definitely have more leverage. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's supposed to happen like that. But, I mean, yeah. There's certain things that I want to do that I haven't done that I do believe an agency can bring to the table. I don't have those connections, so I'm not like, oh, yeah, you know what I mean? Certain things I don't think that I can make happen for myself at where I am right now. And that's just me being honest. That's not even me being like, low-minded or closed-minded. That's just on some real stuff. But thank you so much for listening to this episode. But this is not it. That's all I'm gonna say. You gotta tune in next week. You're gonna be surprised if you thought this was it. That's all I'm gonna say. So make sure you tune in next week, next Wednesday at 12 Central to Family Talk, and make sure you follow Family Talk and me on Facebook.